Hello everyone, welcome to another vlog. As you can see behind me, I'm at California's Great America in Santa Clara, California. And today I wanted to go over some of both the history of Great America that used to be and that never was, that was conceptualized. So come along with me and we'll go look around at some of the areas, again, of the past and that never were. Now, this park was originally opened by the Marriott Corporation of the Marriott Hotels, JW Marriott to be exact, and that was in 1976 to celebrate America's bicentennial.
Now, taking a step further back, this theme park, the original concept was conceptualized by Fess Parker, who, of course, was also famous for playing Davy Crockett for many years, his biggest claim to fame. And he wanted to do a Western themed theme park, so it was going to be called Frontier Worlds. It was going to be a little bit larger and entirely sort of frontier themed, just almost like an entire frontier land. And this idea eventually went away when Fess Parker backed out of this investment, and JW Marriott was the main investor in the park and began planning the park itself. And here's some of the initial concept art for the park. You have the Columbia Carousel, which we'll show shortly, but is the main staple of the park. And from there were concepts for Hometown Square. This is what the original concept included: a water area, kind of more buildings than they actually built, and more leveling, but Hometown America theming. It had a county fair themed area that they were going to have as well, kind of with like the tents, the circus theming, another carousel, and things of that nature. And they had an idea for the Yukon Territory, which was originally part of the park. This would have more of a miners theme, and of course the Yukon area and ride theming around that. There was also a New Orleans area, very similar to Disneyland, with the concept of New Orleans in the 1850s. You can see here that the train would also go by as well. And this land was built, and I'll show you how different it is from conception to reality. And they had a concept that was never realized for a southwestern area, so a lot of just areas of the US. This again was a concept that never actually came to fruition. So here is the Columbia Carousel as it stands today. The carousel theming, of course, was largely around the history of America, and you can actually see that in the details above the carousel. There's various pictures of parts of American history as well as different American flags. And you have, of course, the Columbia branding on the carousel as well. And here's a shot of all of the employees and some of the characters shortly before opening, standing in front of the Carousel Columbia. One thing to note also is in this spot in front of the carousel, there is currently the California's Great America sign, but in this specific spot, near where these flowers are, the Marriotts actually had their dedication plaque that was on display here, and the plaque, is here as long as the Marriotts own the park. And the dedication plaque read, "In dedication with pride for Mr. and Mrs. J. Willard Marriott, who began as so many have begun with only each other. Together they dreamed, and because this is America where dreams can come true, theirs became the worldwide Marriott Corporation through their persistence, labor, courage, and faith. As you go through this park, may you enjoy many fun-filled hours, and in leaving, take with you a long-lasting sense of the true greatness of America." So again, this was the original dedication plaque for the park, of course, when the Marriotts owned it. And now it is no longer owned by Marriott, so it's just a vacant spot. The Star Tower keeps its theming from the Paramount Parks days when Paramount owned this park in the 90s. So you see those kind of Paramount stars. They still kept the name Star Tower for this, but it offers a pretty good view of the park itself. It is original to when the park opened. You can see here with the original Great America logo on opening day with tons of balloons sent up into the air, different era. And now it still, offers a circle view of the park. You'll notice the glass has been through some wear and tear and unfortunately some graffiti, but nonetheless, it still offers you a view of everything. You can see Gold Striker here, which is a new roller coaster, pretty new wood coaster that was added to the park maybe like 7 or so years ago. And you can see surrounding what are now office buildings. This used to be kind of a lot of vacant land, but of course it's since been very heavily developed. Silicon Valley, space is definitely not really a thing anymore, so you can see a lot of different office buildings, hotels. It's actually a Hilton, the Marriott's behind the park. You can see Levi's Stadium, which they added near the park property about 10 years ago. You can see the former Top Gun roller coaster, now flight deck. The Carousel Columbia, of course. You can see the Vortex roller coaster, the Swings ride, some of Hometown Square. You of course see Drop Tower far back. And then the ride does, bring you back down, and just a good kind of circle view of the park itself, original to the 1976 opening, and still running, needing some glass replacement. But being that they've sold the land under this park, and the park has less than, I don't know, at this point 7 years left, probably not going to be replaced. And now we'll take a look at the actual Hometown Square that has been here since the park was opened.
There used to be a trolley also right here by the firehouse area of Hometown Square. You can see where this trolley used to run.
So yeah, just in this area here, if we take a look at it now and then versus around the time of the park opening, you'll notice there was a trolley that would run through this area. You can see the firehouse here. That building is still standing today, but yeah, it's changed since then and back to the modern Hometown Square. And again, here's the original concept art for Hometown Square. You'll notice it originally had more buildings and kind of like different leveling than what was actually realized, including even this water area, versus what we actually see today. Just some of the buildings actually made it on a flat area, no water to be seen, so not quite the full idea that they had. But you'll notice that kind of what looks like where the trolley ran, pathway is now included in this area.
I like to think that they made this pathway behind me to commemorate where the trolley used to be, but not sure if that's the case, but it sure looks like it. Now the trolley tracks used to go right through here past the carousel, and the train station used to actually be right in front of the carousel too. And now you see it's just a cement area now. Sometimes they'll put stages here, but all empty from what used to be.
And you can see here that there used to be a track that would go right by the carousel itself, and now no longer the case.
Unfortunately, no more trolley, just pavement. But at least they've repaved it. It used to be just like street pavement. Now they have these actual pavers here. It's pretty nice. Here's actually a picture of the Marriott's, J.W. Marriott and his wife, sitting right about here on opening day. And you can see some of the buildings that are still there behind me, just rebranded. There's a Starbucks now where there used to be a malt shop.
The Hot Shop was a Marriott creation in Washington, D.C., and was one of their big first successes, and so they made a recreation here in Great America.
But they were sitting here for that picture on opening day, and I'll show you what that looks like now versus, I'll show you what that looks like back then versus now.
And here's J.W. Marriott and his wife, Alice Marriott, sitting on a bench in the Hometown Square section near the Great America Theater. And we'll go ahead and take a walk into the Starbucks in Hometown Square. This Starbucks actually has pictures of Great America's past inside, so they have former rides and historical photos that were part of the park, including the sky buckets, the car ride Tidal Wave, which is now gone, and then the Great America Railroad that was mentioned going past the Carousel Columbia, you can see here, that I mentioned earlier. So pretty cool. They have all these kind of older pictures of the park inside. And here's another view of Hometown Square just from this area of the park. You can see kind of they've added some new just general franchises like Panda Express and Starbucks, just like any town in America probably would have. But yeah, it has changed over the years, but they did do some sprucing up, including this flower bed and the new Hometown Square sign. And you got this popcorn stand that's been here, I think, since park opening.
So roughly this area behind me, all behind me here, was the sort of like New England themed, or supposed to be the New England themed area.
You can see here in the original concept, it included the train station and the train going through the area. Of course, a lot of water theming and older lighthouse, kind of older port and ship building theming, and water rides.
It is now South Bay Shores Water Park. And this area was supposed to be more of like a, again, kind of like New England look. It's supposed to have its own theater with its own show. But over the years, it had a log flume ride that they recently removed called Loggers Run. And they used to have a ride called Yankee Clipper in this area, which lightly themed it to the New England area. But again, it's mainly this water park area now.
And here is the only remnant of the past of this area. And there used to even be the Revolution ride here, this ship-themed ride in the past. And here is what the Yankee Harbor area would have looked like before, with some boat theming and a lighthouse. Slight theming here before. But looking at it today, this is the only kind of reference to the area, just a little bit of water and then the actual water park itself. Now we'll take a look at the Orleans Place area of the park. This, of course, was themed after New Orleans, and I'll show you the original concept art again. So once again, this is the original concept art that they had for the Orleans Place area, 1850s New Orleans. Again, like I mentioned earlier, similar idea to Disneyland. But as you can see, I mean, they did actually build it, just not quite as robust as Disneyland's New Orleans area itself. There's also been some retheming, but you know, they still kept with the New Orleans theme overall, including with some jazz musicians over here. And then this building specifically has been around since park opening. And the second floor is actually in use, or, you know, was for a specific purpose that has a similar tie to Disneyland, and tell you about that in a second. But it's now called the Consulate, and you can actually go upstairs.
I've mentioned this in a previous video, but the Consulate behind me is actually where the Marriotts had a private apartment, a la Walt Disney with Main Street USA, and planned to be New Orleans Square. So there's one in Orleans Place here at Great America. Gate locked behind me, as you can see.
But still in use today, original to the park opening.
There's another photo, the spot behind me here. It was called Le Grand Buffet.
And you can see here they served quite an assortment of food, and they had a lot of food options here. But this was, again, you know, part of the opening era. And if we go back to today, there's been some building around it, and it is no longer functioning. Just an open doorway.
There's actually a shot in Orleans Place back in the day where the trolley used to go through right about here. So I'll show you that comparison of what it looked like before and how it is now.
You can see a pretty festive area before. The trolley would come through here. They had some jazz performers, kind of went more with the New Orleans theme. They had some characters, etc.
So yeah, now it's just basically a lot more space, walking space. Nothing going through here, no parades. A roller coaster is about to go by, but yeah, very different now.
Yeah, you'll notice just a big sort of walkway, but they do have another attraction we'll talk about now, and that is the Sky Buckets ride that they have here. These actually go way back to the opening of the park They're original to the park and are a great way to see an overview of this area and to get from one end of the park to the other. You can see here a picture of the past when this ride was first running and going over the more themed Yankee Harbor area. And it does offer a pretty good view of the park while you're on here. And again, kind of quickly gets you from one end of the park to another. So still around, still running, and part of the original plan of the park itself.
This whole area used to be the Yukon Territory.
This was the original planned area that they had that still exists at Six Flags Great America in Illinois.
And there's some small remnants of that, but it's mainly been taken over by Planet Snoopy. It's been quite a few iterations. It was also the Smurf Village back in the day, but originally it was Yukon Territory.
And this Planet Snoopy area has some of the original buildings for the Yukon Territory, sort of more minor 1850s looking buildings that were part of the original theming of the area before it became Planet Snoopy, and they added these brighter colors and of course Snoopy images throughout. But we can even see what this looks like in Illinois currently. And here is again the concept for the Yukon Territory as it was planned originally. And this is one of the original images from that area, and it's theming that it had, so a little more of the miner and gold mining Yukon theming before, and we transition to today, and you'll notice it is entirely Snoopy and Peanuts themed as an area. So very different from what it was originally planned as and what it originally ran as, but this is what that area has become. A kids area full of Snoopy and Charlie Brown theming everywhere you look.
I'm coming upon another interesting spot where the current Psycho Mouse ride is, and it harkens back to the days when there was the Great America Railroad.
And you'll notice this building is a pretty interesting queue area. It actually was the train station for the Great America Railroad for the Yukon Territory section of the park. That's why it looks the way it does, but it now is the queue for the Psycho Mouse ride. But the train used to come through here, the Great America Railroad, which is no longer in the Santa Clara Park. It is in the Illinois Great America Park, owned by Six Flags. It's still there. But this used to be the train station itself near the Psycho Mouse ride. So a little piece of the past still here in the park. And we're going to come to the county fair area. As you'll recall, this was a fully planned kind of circus county fair themed area originally. It did not reach its full potential in Santa Clara, although it's still running in Illinois at that Great America. You can see the entrance here, and this was kind of a look at what the Santa Clara Great America looked like with the county fair theming, including with the turn of the century roller coaster that's since been removed. But currently, this area is just open, kind of not fully themed. There's a food court. There are some games. There's the Grizzly roller coaster in the back there, as well as the Barney Oldfield car ride. But yeah, you'll notice it's pretty different. There goes one of the cars right now. Pretty different from the original concept itself. Very just open area. And of course, it's also filled with like midway games. They have Drop Tower, which was previously Drop Zone when Paramount ran the park. Again, kind of a hodgepodge of theming in this area that doesn't quite fit what the original plan was. They recently added the Pacific Gliders ride. They're trying to add a little more to the county fair area. But yeah, you'll notice a lot of open space in general with this area. Again, that Barney Oldfield Redwood Rally is original to the park, has been running since it opened in 1976. It's original to the park itself.
All right, well, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found it interesting looking at, we'll wait for that, great America of the past that was conceptualized, that is today. But please subscribe to this channel for more videos. I do more vlogs like this, like history of theme parks, podcast style videos with friends, lots of other things. So just check it out. Please subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.